Today is Wednesday, September 14th. The newest numbers about inflation in the U.S. are out. We'll explain what they mean and their impact on the stock market, and what to know about a possible strike that could cost the U.S. economy and spark another supply chain crisis. Also, what an ex-Twitter employee testified to Congress about the company's cybersecurity. Plus, how long some people are waiting to pay their respects to the late Queen Elizabeth. A big rule change is coming to one of the most popular running events in the world. And have you heard of bleisure travel? We'll explain why it's becoming more popular. Those stories and more news to know next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. The new numbers show it. Inflation is still high, and it's having an impact on Americans' wallet and on Wall Street. The latest Consumer Price Index that measures what people pay for goods and services came out this week. It shows in August, prices went up 8.3% as compared to the same time last year. In other words, everything we buy is on average 8.3% more expensive now than it was in August of 2021. But still, that number is down from 8.5% in July and 9.1% in June. The slow but steady decline is largely thanks to lower gas prices. But here's the thing. The numbers are still much higher than economists want or expected. And that led to the worst day the U.S. stock market has seen in 2 years. The Dow Jones tumbled nearly 1,300 points. The Nasdaq fell more than 630 points. The numbers that worry economists the most are the increases in core prices. That includes things like the cost of rent, new cars, medical care, and just about everything except food and fuel. Officials say the problem is that those core costs are still rising even as the cost of gas is falling. Another thing pulling down markets, the average household income in 2021 was basically flat in the U.S. Now, economists and banks are nervous that the Federal Reserve might raise interest rates even faster than they've already been raising them to try and get a handle on inflation. The Fed could announce another rate hike as soon as next week. The U.S. railway industry is on a collision course with a strike that could worsen an already strained supply chain and affect the national economy. Some 60,000 union workers at major railroads are trying to come to an agreement with their management. But if the talks fail, the workers could walk off the job as soon as this Friday. Officials estimate it could cost the U.S. as much as $2 billion a day in lost productivity. Economists say food and fuel prices could be just some of what's affected, since so much of it is transported by train. Already, some railroads are delaying shipments of hazardous materials in preparation for a possible strike. The Biden administration is now even stepping in and trying to help both sides come together. Most of the unions have settled with the railroads, but 2 large ones have not, and those 2 represent half of railroad union workers. The main sticking point? Sick time or attendance policies. They have until Friday to reach an agreement. To be continued. The former chief of security at Twitter testified to Congress about what he calls major cyber threats that could cause real harm to real people. Peter Zatko mentioned foreign spies, thousands of daily hacking attempts, millions of users' personal information at risk, and more. The whistleblower said he suspected spies working for Chinese or other governments may be on the payroll, and that it wouldn't be far-fetched to say a Twitter employee could take over accounts of all the lawmakers in that room. Zatko was fired from his security position at Twitter earlier this year. He says he became a whistleblower because the social media company was failing to take the threats against them and their users seriously. He even got emotional during the testimony, saying it's dangerous for him and his family to come forward like this, but he thought it was necessary. Twitter responded, though, to these serious allegations, saying they're, quote, riddled with inconsistencies and inaccuracies. Meanwhile, yesterday, Twitter shareholders overwhelmingly approved Elon Musk's takeover bid. They want to hold the Tesla CEO to his original offer to buy the company for $44 billion. But remember, Musk has been trying for months now to get out of that deal and has even sued Twitter. His court case is set to begin in mid-October. There's some fresh debate now on the issue of abortion, just a couple months before voters go to the polls in November. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham introduced a bill that would ban abortions nationwide after 15 weeks of pregnancy. The ban would include several exceptions, including for rape, incest, and when the mom's life is in danger. This bill is getting a lot of attention. It's the first national effort to restrict abortion since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade earlier this year. But still, it is not likely to pass through Congress and actually become law. It's unlikely to even be brought to a floor vote. Democrats control both the House and Senate right now and have already called this an alarming signal of where Republicans are headed if they are able to take control of the House and Senate after the midterm elections. But it seems even Republicans are divided about this. While Graham encouraged his GOP colleagues to lean into this issue and speak up about it, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell told reporters most GOP senators want to leave the issue to the states to decide for themselves. And for now, at least, it is still up to the states. Evacuation orders are in effect in California because of dangerous mudslides. When rainstorms blew in earlier this week, they helped slow some wildfires in the state, but they also caused a new problem. The heavy downpours sent mud, boulders, and trees racing down mountains in Southern California's San Bernardino County, east of Los Angeles. Video showed multiple homes, roads, and cars destroyed. At last check, one person was missing. And now more rain is in the forecast today, so more mudslides are possible. Mudslides like this happen after wildfires have burned away trees and brush on hillsides, so there's nothing left to hold the mud and rocks in place when heavy showers like this come down. All right, we have much more news for you still ahead, but first, a quick break for our sponsor, BetterHelp. There are times I catch myself getting frustrated at a situation, whether it's part of parenting or running a business. But just like I want to teach my son to do, I do best when I take a deep breath and keep a more positive problem-solving mindset, no matter what it is I'm facing, big or small. And I've learned a therapist can really help me keep the mindset I want to have, making it easier to not only accomplish my goals, but to also enjoy the process of getting there. And that's what it's really all about, isn't it? I personally think everyone should give therapy a try. And BetterHelp is a convenient, accessible, affordable way to get started with it. It's entirely online. You just fill out a brief survey and then get matched with a therapist. And you can switch therapists anytime until you find the right one for you. When you want to be a better problem solver, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/newsworthy today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/newsworthy. Across the pond today, Queen Elizabeth's coffin will lie in state in Westminster Hall for hundreds of thousands of people from around the world to say their goodbyes. Many people have already spent more than a day waiting to be one of the first to bid farewell to the late royal icon. Some of the Queen's biggest fans have waited more than 48 hours, camping out in the rain. Queen Elizabeth II was 96 years old and was the longest-serving monarch when she died last week. Demand to see her lying in state at Westminster is extremely high. Those who want to go will have the next 5 days to give their farewells in person. Officials plan to make the late Queen available to the public until the day of her funeral, set for next Monday, the 19th. A number of Americans are expected to travel to the UK to take part in this historical moment. According to traveling agencies, searches for flights have jumped 50% since the Queen's death. If you do plan on making the trip, be prepared to pay a lot more for everything: flights, hotels, taxis. Prices have gone up for all of them as demand to be in London has skyrocketed. And by the way, it seems demand for the Netflix series The Crown has gone up too. Season 1 has now entered Netflix's top 10 list this week. The owner of Phoenix's NBA and WNBA teams has been suspended for a year and fined $10 million. An independent investigation found the owner of the Phoenix Suns and Mercury, Robert Sarver, engaged in workplace misconduct. It found Sarver made racial slurs and misogynistic comments several times over his nearly 2 decades as owner of the teams, that he yelled and cursed at employees and commented on women's physical appearance. Sarver apologized for offending anyone and causing pain and says he accepts the punishment, though he also said he disagrees with some of the particulars in the NBA's report. The league says it'll donate the $10 million Sarver has to pay to organizations committed to addressing race and gender-based issues. Registration just opened for one of the most popular and most prestigious running events in the world. And for the first time, non-binary athletes won't have to enter either the men's or women's division. Instead, the Boston Marathon is giving the option to select non-binary as their gender for next year's race. The Boston Athletic Association did not set a specific qualifying time for the new category, so in order to compete, non-binary runners have to meet the qualifying requirement for the women's category, which varies depending on age. Though organizers say that could change in the future. About 30,000 people are expected to compete in the marathon next April. Ferrari has unveiled its first 4-door car. The 75-year-old sports car maker has made vehicles with 4 seats before, but never 4 doors. It's called the Ferrari Puro Sangue, which means thoroughbred or pureblood in Italian. It looks like a crossover SUV, but Ferrari says don't call it one, that it's a sports car designed as a true Ferrari. It can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 3 seconds. The cost will start at nearly $390,000. Deliveries will begin next year in Italy and in other markets around the world by the end of 2023. Meanwhile, the largest motorcycle seller in the world, Honda, is going electric. The company plans to introduce at least 10 fully electric motorcycle models by 2025. It's part of a larger strategy to be fully carbon neutral by 2040. Well, that's it for the main news today. So now it's time for Work Wednesday, when we break down one interesting career or work-related news story every Wednesday. But first, thanks to our sponsor, Rothy's. By now, you know I'm a big fan of Rothy's shoes, and that People magazine even named Rothy's The Point the best flat for its 2021 Style Awards. But did you also know that Rothy's has all different types of styles, from sneakers and loafers to ankle boots and more? And no matter what you buy, everything Rothy's makes helps the planet. They've repurposed millions of single-use plastic bottles into their signature thread that goes into every single one of their products. I don't know how they do it, but every pair of Rothy's shoes I've gotten is everything I want it to be. Comfortable, durable, stylish, and sustainable. I appreciate every time I pull their shoes out of the box, and they immediately feel comfortable and ready to wear all day long. Step up your shoes and accessories and get ready to be asked, are those Rothy's? Plus, get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/newsworthy. That's ROTHYS, rothys.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Work Wednesday. Have you heard of the term bleisure travel? It refers to part business, part leisure. Bleisure. So basically, tacking a personal vacation onto a business trip. Well, reports say these types of combo trips are becoming more and more popular. A survey by the Global Business Travel Association over the summer found that 90% of travel managers said employees were interested in trips combining work and play. And the organization has also said more than 1 in 3 business travelers around the globe will add a personal or leisure component to at least one of their work trips this year. In some cases, many will have friends or family come with them. The tourism industry welcomes this trend, especially because demand for business travel alone is still down since the pandemic. But as the Wall Street Journal reports, it's still a bit murky for employers. A lot of companies don't have formal rules about this, and there are still questions about things like liability and reimbursement of costs. On the other hand, companies can use it as a way to recruit new employees or to keep their current ones happy, ensuring they'll stay longer in their jobs. All right, thank you so much for joining us as part of your daily routine. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.